Hey everybody, and welcome to the Shadow Files podcast. Gary here. We have a very special guest coming in this evening. Obviously, you all know who he is because you've already clicked on the thumbnail. Ben Hansen is a former FBI special agent, and he is a TV presenter of all things paranormal and UFO related. First coming to the screens in the TV show Fact or Fake, Paranormal Case Files. He is single-handedly responsible for bringing a lot of people into the field with credible ways to investigate and debunk things. And he is one of the nicest people you would ever talk to and knowledgeable people you would ever talk to. And we have him for the next 30 minutes. So we're going to jump straight into it right after this. Hey Ben, how are you, mate?
Good. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. This has been a long time.
A while.
It's been a while, yes.
Yeah.
But we finally got there. So, yeah, go on.
No, been a while setting things up, getting a window, and then also the time changes and everything. Because I don't think we could be more opposite parts of the world, probably. We being way over on the West Coast.
Well, that's the thing about living out here, mate. We're on the opposite world opposite side of the world to everyone. Even people.
You know, it's funny too. Sometimes when I go over there, you guys have these time zones that are like super weird. Like in Adelaide, it was like a half hour different.
Yeah.
Than, not just hour increments. It's like a half hour.
Yeah.
Like, how did people figure that out? It was really confusing.
Well, we just went on a family holiday a couple of weeks ago, and we went to Adelaide, then to New South Wales, then to Victoria, then back to New South Wales, then back to Adelaide, and then back to Perth. So you can imagine we were all over the place with these half-hour increments everywhere.
I bet people miss a lot of meetings because of that. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know with phones in this day and age, they tend to upgrade and change to the right time limit a lot better than they used to. But I think they've got daylight savings coming in a couple of weeks, which is going to make things even worse. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think ours, but they keep changing the days it goes into effect, and then we voted against it. I mean, some states can vote against it here. Probably and they don't want to participate, and there's even counties. So I think like in Indiana, Arizona, or parts of it where certain counties participate and the others don't. And there should be laws again. You can't just be driving across, the same state and into a different county and all of a sudden the time's different.
Yeah, well, we're guilty of that. We voted it out, so we don't have daylight savings. It's the same time here every day of the year. But everybody else, all the other states, they sort of, it messes things up. But anyway, I thought I would touch off and hit you up with a very, 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 very weird question that I've been thinking about for ages. And that is, you started out in the FBI doing all of that kind of, I think, some major crime type stuff to start off with. How did you make the jump to presenting TV on paranormal topics?
Well, one question I always get is were you interested in it before you got into TV and everything? And formally part of a group or anything was with state or federal government. There's nothing against that. I mean, you can have hobbies, do stuff, but as you can imagine, there's right, and I can't be out in the public face, saying that I'm the leader of this paranormal group and then go to court the next day, to testify on something, because they would mock it, poke holes in it, make fun of it. So I've always had the interest, but it wasn't until I left for a number of reasons. It just wasn't what I expected. And I didn't leave to start TV. I never thought that I'd be in TV. I actually looked at going back to law school. There were other agencies that had offered me conditional jobs. Or conditional offers of employment, but then the budget came in, and here in the U.S., the federal government's always trying to develop their budget and whatever. So I was left thinking, should I go back to school or not? And all of a sudden, this TV show presented itself, and I'd not, like I said, I dabbled in it. I'm not an actor or anything like that, and it was like they were looking for a paranormal group, which I had, friends, and we would go do stuff and investigate houses that people would, call us up on. He didn't have a website or a name or anything though. So when I told the casting director about this, they loved us. They just brought us in and everything, and then they sat us down. And I remember it was over at Paramount Studios, is where this production company was. We went into the big studio lot into the office. And they're like, "Okay, well the network is gonna love you guys, but what do you think the show should be about?" And I was like, "What?" You normally have like
An idea.
concept first, right? And then you go and get your cast. So it was weird, but we were able to help build Fact Faked from the ground level, and it's always been sort of it's been a hobby. I mean, it's been, if things work out, because as you know, unless you're consistently writing books, and even then it'd be very, or on TV shows, you can't pay the bill,
Yeah.
investigating the paranormal and UFOs. And so it has to be a passion and a hobby that you kind of keep on the side. And that's what it is. And so, anyways, yeah, to answer your question, I didn't leave because I wanted to go do this. I found me, and not anything against the others that are doing TV shows. A lot of those, as you probably know, are primarily cast because you have people who want to be actors.
Yeah.
And they don't really care what it's in. They have some interest in, like, oh, paranormal, okay, great. And if they're good at it, they learn along the way, and then they become those
Experts.
people who, yeah, experts. They don't like that word, but
No.
they can speak on the top. They do have a lot of experience, a couple years in, but mine was the opposite. Nerd as a kid, into this stuff, and I knew much about UFOs, especially.
Well, yeah, it's a UFO that actually got me involved in this in the first place. When I was 7 years old, I witnessed one. Well, it wasn't even, I wouldn't even call it a UFO. I witnessed it close up, 50 odd yards, I guess, 50 meters. So a yard and a meter is about the same.
Oh my goodness.
And that changed my life. I remember telling my parents about it, and they said, you must have been dreaming or something. I said, no, I saw it out the back window of the bedroom. And it wasn't until the next night when there were actually been a few reports that had made it onto the local news. And that's when, oh, crap, you must have actually seen something then. And
So then your parents started believing.
well, I still think they think I imagine it, but, I've been doing this now for over 45, close to 50 years. And you don't get yourself locked into a 50-year obsession over something that you didn't see. So,
Yeah.
so that's what got me started in it. And then, obviously, as a young bloke, I would look at things like encyclopedias, because I went to the local library, which is weird for a kid at that age anyway. And I said, have you got books on flying saucers? And you get the look, and they just said there's a section on the unexplained over there. And that's where I saw all this other stuff, UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, spontaneous human combustion. The Loch Ness Monster, because I grew up in the north of England, so that was all around, and I was intrigued and hooked right from then. And obviously, I've got my own team, and we do a lot of the sort of stuff, going out, helping. We don't do so much public stuff. We're sort of helping families out and things like that. But it's nice to hear different people's stories and how they actually get involved in the paranormal or in UFOs, because I guess you could say you're sort of, while you're all paranormal and everything, you're fairly heavy in the UFOs at the moment, because that seems to be the in thing, isn't it? There's a lot of conversation about it.
I think, as much as I love the ghost investigating stuff, that to me, there's a difference when you go to a location, for example. You can learn all about the history of alleged, haunted house or theater or something like that, and you learn about who might be there. That's kind of about as far as you can get,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like, well, unless that spirit comes in and talks to me and has an interview and I can record it, I don't know what's still there. I don't know who they are. Um, with the UFO stuff, it has full implication, in my opinion, like far more. Science wise, we're trying to question, are we alone in the universe?
Mm.
And with the ghost stuff, it's is there life after death? Both very important questions. But the UFO thing has been impacted primarily a couple years because of the national security and safety issues and that conversation, right? And also with the government, right? If it's true and if the government has known more, letting on, or has been participating in crash retrieval programs, then you have those questions of transparency, accountability. What other things would the government be doing? They're not telling us the truth about.
Yeah.
So you gotta have basically a degree in history to dive into it. So in my opinion, there's a lot more to know. It's also it's more important in society and how it's going to affect us because this rolls out. I don't think that many people would, and I don't like to use the term freak out, but I don't think they would have undue stress, or something if you told them tomorrow we have definitive proof there's life after death, because people have already kind of decided, I think, either religiously or not, that there's something after life. Like, oh, that's really cool, awesome, okay, there's a purpose to life. But if you told them that we're being visited and that there's beings from other planets here, there's a whole lot of other questions
Yeah.
and a whole lot more stress
Yeah.
that people that it may not comport with their ontological security, we call it, their sense of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah, see, you've already blown me away by talking about all of that. I mean, it goes well back past Roswell and things like that. It goes back much further. And, Betty and Barney Hill. There are so many credible people that have made reports. And then obviously the big one, I guess, is the Phoenix Lights, where mass sightings of it. Even over here in Australia in the 60s, we had Westall, which was our equivalent, I guess, of your Roswell. And that had a whole lot of school kids that witnessed things and teachers. And to this day, they still swear on what they saw. And all of their pictures all seem to match up to something not of our creation anyway, coming in and landing. So at what point do you think the world will actually accept that there is more to it than what TV and pop culture says there is?
I think we have to define, what that is gonna look like. What does accept mean? Because I think it's incremental. I think if you look at polls and surveys, it was something like, it's more than half now. I think 60% of people believe that it's more likely and very probable that we're not alone. But there's a big difference there, and other people saying that hey, we've been visited, which I don't think is quite half. What, by accepting that it's true, I think a lot of people are waiting for official government stamp of approval, or maybe from science, academia, and we've started to kind of get that. I mean, at least here in the U.S., they've said that it's a potential national security threat, and we have reports, at least hundreds, that uninvolved. So to someone who reads between the lines, like, well, hey, you should know if it's ours, and you don't. You should know if it's an adversary, if it's that further beyond what they call next capability, like Russia, China, whatever. You should know that. Otherwise, we're in big trouble. So then what's left? If it's not ours, it's not theirs. You kind of have to read between the lines, but nobody has come up to the podium in the UN or the White House briefing room and said, "Okay, you have proof, and they are here, known about it, or here's your evidence." That might be what it takes for most people, I would say, to finally acknowledge. However, you're still going to have a lot of people not believing that, and that's one of my areas of focus with research is what what creates people's beliefs and maintains them.
Yeah.
Because the reactions of what some people will have are basically going against everything that their whole sense of the place in the universe is based on. But what happens to those people? Will some people completely break down? I don't think the majority will, but it's going to be a really stressful time, to say the least.
Yeah, I've seen a few there's a TV show called V that came out. There's a couple of different versions of it.
I remember that.
Yeah, there was an original one in the 80s, and then they did a remake of it. And, they go into the crisis of faith and things like that, and so many different people will take it in so many different ways, I think in this day and age, it's going to be more accepted, but like you were saying, people believing that they're actually visiting and stuff like that is probably less than people who believe there is something out there. But each day, more and more people are starting to come across. I mean, I'm coming across because I've seen it. I've seen something that okay, there could be some weird explanation, but I still to this day can't put any kind of a human. I haven't seen anything like that since, except in movies and stuff. So I know there's more out there, and I'm still 100% it wasn't from Earth, but where it comes from,
and it might take that. It might take each individual person having an experience, or it might mass sightings over every major city in the world. The thing is, if we are being visited, and we don't know, it could be one race, it could be multiple. They could have multiple agendas.
Yeah.
But I think what is pretty clear is that they come and go as they will, and we seem to have no control over them. So if they wanted to, have what called disclosure, if they wanted to come forward and reveal, they could do it at any time.
Yeah.
They could come down and, and make it undeniable, but don't. So either they don't care, right? And it's just like they're passing through in a train station, or they have some other agenda. The timing is not right.
Mm.
Whether they're trying slowly, or it's going to be all at once. Of course, from a defense perspective, there's that, I guess, concern that there's reconnaissance and surveillance going on, to know when to come forward, and then you get into the whole sci-fi scenarios, So, it's interesting, but a little bit unnerving. But it's not really that I fear. It's more the human reaction.
Yes.
And being able to get through that transition with the least amount of, I guess, chaos and disruption.
So, how many cases would you say you've worked on in the UFO field, as in interviewing witnesses and things like that? Would you have a rough number?
Oh man, that's a good question. I haven't even tried to track. I mean, because I guess from the number of people who contact me and I say on, I wouldn't count someone emailing me a thing and looking over it and vetting it and saying, well, should I go for this, but that would be in the thousands.
Yeah.
Because I get sometimes a dozen emails every week, and I have to quickly vet to see, if there's anything substantive that I could do with it.
Yeah.
But as far as worked on, where I went out in the field and interviewed and or on the phone and spent some real time on it, it'd be hundreds. I mean, it's just so hard. And what people don't understand too is, like, unless I'm doing a TV show, I wasn't born wealthy. I don't have this, the this unlimited supply of resources where I can just make this my full-time hobby,
Yeah.
and no one pays you for this.
No.
It's like when someone sends you a ghost photo, right? And they're like, "Hey, would you look at this photo? This is this my dad who passed away?" And it's like, wow. I love that people seek me out for that, but this is a no-win situation, right?
Yeah.
Because does that person really want me to tell them my opinion? Because they don't, they're gonna get, ticked off and think it has something to do with their dad existing or not existing. And if I do it, and analyze it and I can't figure it out, um, there's 100 people in line waiting for you to do the same things.
Yeah. That's
You
it.
just do what you can, but you really do have to be selective.
Yes.
Any of these cases, you have to say, like, look, in the case of UFOs, is it going to advance us in our knowledge? Because I have hundreds of cases of just a light in the sky,
Hmm.
and it could be any number of things. But if I have an eyewitness of something that's like 20 feet from them, the witness is credible and better to have video or something like that. I could put that out on national, international news media, and I do think it helps the conversation because people realizing that they're not the only ones.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that. So, out of all the cases that you've done, is there one or a few that really stand out as something beyond credible, or something that really stuck in your mind as a decent case?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and I think that it's to use the term lucky, but when people have had close encounters, if they had a friend with them, their luck was you probably wouldn't hear about the case otherwise.
Yeah.
So you have like Travis Walton, the movie Fire in the Sky
Fire in the
was
Sky,
based
yeah.
off of. You had 7 loggers in Arizona. You have a very weird case, the Pascagoula, Mississippi, with Calvin Parker, and those he and his I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his friend's name, Calvin, and got the book right here. It'll come to me in a minute. At any rate, very odd, that they had this ship and the descriptions of the extraterrestrials, but everything as far as the credibility checks out that something real happened. There's very close encounters like that, and then you also have, and this is where I hesitate saying, because when people say when a trained observer something, I don't like that, because law enforcement or a pilot or military, I don't remember ever going to a specific day of training where, like, we're going to train you to be an observer, right? And you're going to get certified or something. Like, I will say they write a reports,
Yeah.
and that in the general public usually, because you have very descriptive for court or for stuff. And so if there's a benefit to that, then yes. If there's a benefit also, you do have people in law enforcement and military a little bit more than the general public. But that doesn't mean that the general public can't be excellent observers. And ridiculous to tell somebody that they mistook the planet, in their backyard for something they say that was like 50 feet from them, and that it was a car.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, my little tangent here, but I guess what I'm saying is credibility of the cases. I do have a few that are like law enforcement, multiple witnesses. Those are the things that I really like. It's easier to convince the general public, that, hey, you should trust a police officer. You should trust a pilot knows what's in the sky. And or you have multiple witnesses that are credible that have been interviewed and have law enforcement involved, like the Travis Walton case.
That's massive, that one. It's massive. I mean, the movie helped, but I think just about everybody, well, in the field knew about that long before the movie came out. So it's, quite a confronting case, actually, if you look at it. I mean, I know obviously movies always sensationalize everything, but he definitely went through some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. And I think just about any witness who has something that's that up close and personal didn't ask for it. I mean, I don't know anybody who had a so-called abduction who was like, "Oh yeah, it was great. Well, this was it I was totally fine with it and whatever," because it's not voluntary.
Mm.
I don't Maybe there's some cases out there, but it's against their will, and they later maybe come to terms with it. But then that stigma falls in because you can either choose to shut up and not say anything the rest of your life, is like holding in a trauma that you don't talk about, or you do start talking about it and being marginalized, ridiculed, becoming that person, and it becomes like label, you know, that follows you. In the case of Travis, he was in a small town. He
Yeah.
didn't move away from that town. Same with Calvin Parker. I think he changed his name because of all that. Um, Charleston, that was his coworker friend. So, anyways, it's very impactful on people's lives.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Have you ever done a location investigation of a UFO site that has really stuck out in your memory? Have you ever been to somewhere like, oh, what's the big one at the moment, Skinwalker Ranch, or out to Roswell, out to the crash site, or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, I've been to multiple crash sites because Roswell involved a couple. I think there was either more than one craft or it broke up in different parts, and we're still actively investigating that. I've been out to a couple digs, where we've tried to look for debris, um, and it's like treasure hunting. I mean, you always have that hope you're gonna find that one
Yeah.
piece of the memory metal or something,
Yeah.
and so that's always fun. And then at Skinwalker Ranch, I mean, I can forever about that because before it was even bought by Bigelow, I had friends who were out there and knew things were going on in the whole valley.
Wow.
And I just spoke at a conference there, and a friend who's got property right next door had multiple things going on, and what I've experienced was not quite right next to it. It was about a half hour away, but I filmed a triangle with my thermal camera. It only showed up in the thermal, so you look up in the sky, you don't see anything, but there in the camera, silent triangle, like slowly floating.
Wow.
So definitely real, the experiences that people are having, and those spot areas for whatever reason seem to kind of repeat. And we've got a couple of those in the U.S. and every now and then I hear about internationally too.
Yeah. Man, I could talk with you for hours on this stuff because I am so into it and I love it so much. But I know you are pushed for time, but I do want to say that I want to thank you for everything you do for the TV, because what the TV shows that you put out are so real. And on a personal note, my son Josh, when he saw the first episode of Fact or Faked, he was hooked. Now, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get my son hooked on anything like this. And the one show he still
Awesome.
talks about now is Fact or Faked. He loved the lengths that you guys went to try and debunk something or recreate something. And he's going, oh, this is awesome. So, and all the other shows that you've done, you bring a
That
definite air of credibility and reality to it. Whereas, like we said, some of these other shows, they can be staged or dramatized for viewing audiences and things like that. So I do want to thank you for that. But have you got anything coming out soon or on the horizon that you're allowed or not allowed to talk about?
well, we got a couple in development, with the major networks, and just have to see where that goes. I know you. I think you guys get some of the that TMZ does over here. I don't know, but TMZ is like our start out as tabloid, thing, but they do legit news reporting, and I did a season with them of a show called Strange and Suspicious, and it doesn't look like that's going to be picked up again. It's funny because I have shows I develop, and people come to me with their ideas, and we get close to selling the shows that I came up with, and then it goes on, and then someone else pops up and says, "Hey, but we have this idea. Do you want to come join our idea?" I'm like, "Sure." It's a lot of fun, but there's not anything other than, I think you guys might also on Discovery. You probably get the show Paranormal Caught on Camera.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing, I think, season. I think they're going to get renewed again. And,
That's awesome.
Commenting on videos of that stuff. But otherwise, my next goal is to get back out to Australia. I mean, we need to do more events.
Well, we've got to get you over to Perth so you can come and have a barbecue.
Oh, I'd love it. I love it. I love when I was there that one time. I was like, it's such a beautiful city as you're driving the coastline. And, what's cool is like it's isolated. I love living in like a sizable city, but then you can just drive 15, 20 minutes. You're out of the city, out in the bush, and doing your camping and hiking and stuff. So you guys are really lucky.
Oh, yes, we are. I mean, literally, I'm a 3-minute drive from the Indian Ocean. So, it doesn't get any better than that, mate. It really doesn't. But we're hoping to get over to America soon and down the east coast, around the bottom, and then up the west coast, and then into Canada. That's the big plan for us. But like you said, it takes a few dollars to do something like that. So I've got a lot of friends.
Inflation's horrible, and then you got to plan it between hurricane season, tornado season. Here in California, we've been having a lot of quakes and fires. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, that's life, isn't it? But I know I'm pushing it for time, but I would like to thank you very much for coming on, and I hope we'll have you on again soon because. This conversation I could go on for hours talking about it. I really could, but I think we'll get this one out of the way for now.
Thank you for making it happen, Gary. I appreciate it, and I love, the effort and job that you do as well, because getting the information out and helping people be aware, it's important. Especially, like I said, this UFO subject. As long as people are talking about it and making it more than just an entertainment thing, and letting people know, hey, like there's real implications to this, and I think that's probably the best way to help people prepare.
It is. On that, I think it is time to go. So, Ben Hansen, thank you very much for joining the Shadow Files.
Thanks, Gary.